Welcome, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning, you might remember her. She plays the character Aunt Vi. Her name is Tina Lifford. She's been acting since 1983. She's a veteran in Hollywood, multifaceted career, over 100 characters. Well, she joins us once again this morning to talk about something that we think is so important for the season that we're in. She wrote a book in 2020 entitled The Little Book of Big Lies, a journey into inner fitness. And this morning we're talking about inner wellness and inner fitness. Tina, good morning and welcome back.
Oh, good morning, Charlotte. It is so lovely to be here. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. You know, with all of the tumult that is happening in society, that we're seeing in Louisiana, that we're seeing across the nation, we thought, what an incredible time to revisit inner fitness. First of all, let's talk about what it is.
Yeah, what inner fitness is, Charlotte, is developing the kinds of skills and practices internally, mental, emotional, and spiritual skills and practices that help you foster resilience, heal unresolved issues, and relieve stress so that you can thrive instead of survive. I best like to talk about inner fitness by drawing a parallel to physical fitness. We absolutely know the importance of physical fitness on our overall wellness. There's not one area of medicine that doesn't acknowledge the positive impact of physical fitness, exercise on overall wellness. Well, it's the same when it comes to inner fitness. We must begin to understand that how we are thinking and feeling drives the choices that we make. It drives our perspective. And therefore, it drives whether we are feeling good or feeling bad, feeling capable or feeling incapable. And we have great control, far greater control over managing our internal state than we have known up until now.
Mm-hmm. And so you wrote this book some time ago, but then the pandemic happened. Then we started seeing, after the book was released, we started seeing crime. We started feeling as a nation unsafe with people who were supposed to be our safety and who were supposed to be safekeepers. What did you then start to internalize and think about inner fitness with everything that the world is going through?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And what happened for us at the Inner Fitness Project is indeed we began to see something that is really quite exciting because people were quarantined in their homes and their busy lives were called to a stop. People found a couple of things. Number one, they found themselves with more time to actually be present to where they were. And a lot of people, in all, homage to them, a lot of people were honest with themselves about how they were feeling, ways that they were tired of feeling, how they actually wanted to take this time in quarantine to actually address things that they've either been too busy to address or they were running from or just didn't know how to approach it. And so the Inner Fitness Project, we were able to actually be there for people as a community with our programs and workouts. And I can tell you about that later. And women, mostly women, and that doesn't surprise me because women tend to lead whatever movement there is. And when it comes to internal wellness, well, we have been given permission to be with our feelings more than men. But woman after woman was logging on to our Zooms and in our network saying things like, I know that there is more for me. I know that there is more inside of me than the life that I'm living. I There are things that have been in my, like right behind me that I have been too busy to turn around and look at, or too afraid to look at. And women were saying that they wanted to actually be in their lives more. They have been giving so much of themselves to every area of their life and literally leaving themselves out. Those were the kinds of needs that allowed these people to finally take the action of following that inner pull that says it's time for me to just stop and sort of check in with myself
Hmm.
and see who I am. And
Right.
then the Inner Fitness Project was there to help them in that journey.
And I think with that said, a lot of people did stop because, quite frankly, we didn't have a choice. We had to stop. But one of the things that you wrote about in the book was changing behaviors.
Yes.
And those processes, those things that we've done for so long. Now that things are sort of opening back up, how do we stay connected with that inner self that a lot of us found during the pandemic? And now it's going to be very, very tempting to get back on the hamster's wheel.
Yeah, it's true. And that's where personal accountability starts to be really important. We give time to and prioritize what we prioritize. So you I think that it's important that people take a baseline check-in with themselves and see how they were feeling about the life that they were living, that internal surviving
Hmm.
that was constantly driving them pre pandemic. And I always encourage people to work with a journal. Write down who you were before the pandemic and be honest with yourself. Use our prompt, which is, if I tell myself the truth. Write it down so that you can see and remember that busyness, that rushing about in fear with your head down, that didn't feel good. That never let them see you sweat lie doesn't feel good. And if you write that down and acknowledge it, now you have something very specific that you can prioritize, very specific that you can work with and work to change. And then you can be, these seem like very simple concepts, and they are
Hmm.
when we apply them. But you can start with just three things. Decide that going forward, you are going to have a vision or a dream for your life.
Hmm.
And I'm not talking about just running out and getting things. I'm not talking houses and,
Hmm.
money. I'm talking quality of life and inner state. How do you want to feel inside of yourself? Do you want to wake up feeling like, no matter what challenge faces you, you were bigger than that? Do you want to wake up feeling like there are more things possible for your life than limitations?
Hmm.
Do you want to wake up feeling like you have the resilience and the skills to be able to meet up with old habits, and instead of beating yourself up, instead of judging yourself harshly, look at these things and then strategically, emotionally, and with better thinking, approach changing them, or what we call interrupting those patterns?
Mm.
Write that down. Just know where you want to go. And then you can actually set the intention to be reminded, to let your life
Hmm.
help you remember what you want to do. Remember who you want to be. Remember where you want to go. And then be daring. learn to say no to the old habits. Now, you can't just say no to an old habit.
Right.
You have to have a support system, right? You have to you have to get better information. So, you can read the little book of big lies because it is really effective in
Absolutely.
helping you, right? Um,
Absolutely, it is. Let's do this, Tina. Let's take a break here, but when we come back, I want to talk more about the Little Book of Big Lies. It's a little book, but it is a powerful, powerful book for this season. And we hope that people that are wanting to change and wanting to become well inside will pick it up. Tina Lifford is our guest this morning. Stay on point for more of this important conversation. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning is Tina Lifford. You remember her from Hollywood, but most recently and more recently, you will recognize her as Aunt Vi on Queen Sugar from the OWN Network. Well, we're talking about her book, The Little Book of Big Lies, A Journey into Inner Fitness. And as I think of inner wellness, Tina, you're one of those gurus that I think of. And after I read your story some time ago and your book, I understand how you've come to this place. But for people who don't know, walk us through when you knew that what had to happen on the inside would affect what was going on everywhere else in your life.
yeah, yeah. I would say that there were three things that moved me to prioritize my inner health and well-being. Number one is I knew very early in my life that I wanted to be an actress. And then, and I say very early, I'm talking, second, third grade. But
Wow.
then in the fifth grade, I had a debilitating experience with stage fright when I was in the school talent show. That incident created a insecurity and a doubt in the auditioning process. And literally all I ever wanted to do was an actress. So I was confronted with the question of how do I manifest the life I want to live, the career that I want to live, with this thing that literally, the phone could ring and I, pick it up and it's my agent. And I immediately start to get nervous. I immediately start to feel overwhelmed and what I now call as in survival mode, feeling like I'm drowning at the end of a pool. And I absolutely know, I don't believe, I know that we are all meant to live and express a life that is fulfilling. I know that. And so the question I had to ask myself is, how do I get from this limitation that seems to have so much power over me into greater freedom and power over the limitation? So that was number one.
Mhm.
Number two
But wait, but as a
is
little girl, though, you recognized it. Then you fast forward to a young woman pursuing that passion that you know is there. And you know that the universe is calling you to do this because you've felt it and known it since second grade. So, how do you move in it? You know what I'm saying? Before you really identify that, okay, I've got to get this anxiety
yes,
under control.
yes, great question, Carlette. So I was present to the fact that the life I was living internally didn't feel good. And my faith told me that life could and should feel better internally. And so I got really curious. I started looking for better information to understand what I was experiencing and see what I could start to do to help myself move beyond it. I definitely engaged in therapy to help me along that line. Um, and what I discovered in the process was that well-being really is a commitment. You have to you have to learn better information. Then you have to learn how to apply that information, in your life in the moment. And then you have to learn, and to do both of those things, you have to have a what I call curious and daring heart. You know, you have to constantly be willing to reach for your possibility. And so I started reading books, self-help books, spiritual books. Definitely had a church life. My challenge with my church life was, and my challenge with so many of the self-help gurus at the time, was that when I was in their presence, when I was at church, I felt their power.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at church, I felt their freedom.
Mm.
But when I left church,
Mm.
I didn't know how to maintain and grow and take ownership of that for myself. And that became my goal. And, people refer to me in a lot of ways. Um, the way in which I refer to myself is that I am practiced. I learned how to literally apply the information that transforms our lives. I learned to do that, and that's what the little book of Big Lies is all about. And that's what the work that we do at the Inner Fitness Project is all about. We know that interrupting old patterns takes consistent effort of a certain nature. And so we help people literally train those new behaviors, those new thoughts, those new ways of applying concepts to one's life and interrupting old patterns. We help people be consistent at that, in the way that, going to a physical fitness exercise session helps you to constantly condition your muscles. So we condition the thinking, the feeling, and the choice making using transformational concepts, so that each one of us, can be have self agency in applying practices that work to change our lives for the better.
And they're all really built on biblical principles, really at their core, aren't they?
Like, absolutely. Absolutely. Biblical, you can say biblical, you can say philosophical. They both are synonymous. We're talking, underneath the hood, we're talking about ways of being and seeing that are absolutely universal and unchanging, and work when you know how to apply them.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I love the book. I've kept the book and I've referred back to the book because, first of all, the reason why we do what we do is to really inspire people to find and live and work and walk in their passion, what they were created to be and do.
Yes.
And you can't freely do that if you don't have an inward peace. You can't have an inward peace if you don't know that there's a problem, if you don't know that you've been wrong thinking for years. You'll never be able to change it, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And we start with what we feel is the fundamental problem, and that is self-image. That when people are thinking about the self, they're not really thinking about the internal being. They're thinking about the self that they dress up and put a dress on and comb the hair of. But it is the internal self
Mm-hmm.
that guides everything.
Mm.
And a way in which, listeners can sort of take a quick assessment of where they are with their self is to look at how much unconscious self judgment,
Hmm.
self attack, self doubt, and self rejection lives inside. We need to see that habit of self doubting, self rejection, self judging
Mm-hmm.
creates a way of seeing ourselves and life that doesn't move us towards our better iteration of itself. It keeps us limited in a fear loop, and I'm not enough loop. We need to just break that loop so that people can redefine themselves. And one of the ways that we redefine them at the Inner Fitness Project is, and this is absolutely in alignment with, biblical scripture, but we acknowledge an innate worth. So we say we are innately creative. God is creative and we are an extension of God. We are innately resilient. We have innate snapback. If we just get up off of ourselves and learn to cultivate our snapback, we realize that we are innately resilient.
Hmm.
We are innately empowered to make new choices. No matter how life has been up until now, you can make a new choice. You have that power. You have that right, and it's been extended to you from a force greater than you.
Absolutely.
And and you are innately whole. Everything you need to change your life right this moment is inside of you. It's
Mm.
not outside of you. Your ability to pick up a book, read information that is worthy of your time, and then apply it, attempt to apply it in your life, that's power you have to choose.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
Let
and
me,
innately worthy.
let me do this. Let's take a break here. But when we come back, Tina, I want to talk about what we can expect in the last episode coming up of Queen Sugar. But then I also want to drive people to the Inner Fitness Project. For those people who are saying, I want that power that you're talking about, not just in church, but I want that power. How you can get it right after this. Stay on point. We're back with more on the other side of the break. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. I'm just talking all during the break because the book is so incredible. And I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, it doesn't happen overnight. It is indeed a practice, but you can start with this incredible little yellow book written by Tina Lifford, and it's entitled The Little Book of Big Lies, A Journey into Inner Fitness. And so one of the things that I want you to talk about is people who do realize that they've dealt with the same trauma their whole lives, the same messaging their whole lives, how to start. How to start.
Well, one of the simplest and internally satisfying ways is to embody this little phrase: up until now and from this point forward. Up
Mm.
until now, whatever that issue has been, no matter how challenging it has been that way up until now. But from this point forward, it can change. By inviting that idea into your mind and into your language, so that when you are talking about something that has been the way it's been all your life, you stop yourself and you insert, well, up until now, it's been that way.
Mm-hmm.
But from this point forward, it can change. Because the more you condition your subconscious to the realization that it can change for the better, the more you will open to that possibility. And the more you open to that possibility, you will begin to prioritize and run into conversations like this one, books like The Little Book of Big Lies, and know that there are just endless ways in which that from this point forward can come into your life.
So, Tina, you started your acting career back in 1983 and
I did.
or somewhere thereabouts. And I can
Yeah.
imagine that in 1983 there were actors and actresses who looked like you, but there still had to be an inner conditioning, an intestinal fortitude to stay with what you had dreamt about since second grade. How did you do that?
Yeah, that's another great question, Carlette. And my parents did me a great service um, by telling me that I could do anything I really wanted to do. It just might take a lot of work. So that was helpful. Then the other thing was, you know, I really, underneath all of my seeming personal desires, is the desire to fulfill the life that God gave me, right? And so I was always pushing for more. My limitations became the very playground on which I would push for more. So when I went to an audition and it wasn't successful and I, blew it or whatever, yes, I would lick those wounds because those moments did not feel good. But that innate resilience that I was talking about, there was just no way that I was going to let my limitations and fears run my life. And so I developed a lifestyle of challenging my limitations and fears.
Wow.
And
And how do
by
you do that?
challenge,
Challenging your limitations and your fears, because those are the two debilitating things that keep us from really releasing our potential into the earth realm.
but that's also one of the big lies that the little book of big lies addresses. Any limitation, any hurt, drama, trauma, upset, or disappointment, any event or person that left you feeling less than, in doubt of yourself, telling you who you can't be, those are lies. And when you accept the notion that the events and circumstances that you have lived that have limited you and held you in fear, when you accept the notion that they are not the truth of you, then you can become curious about who you really are beyond the lie, beyond the limitation. But you have to want to challenge the limitation. You have to dare to at least enroll in the notion that up until now, this limitation has defined you. But from this point forward, it doesn't have to. And one of the best ways to know that there is more of you to be lived in your life is to listen and just see if there's something inside that is sort of pushing you forward or saying, it doesn't have to be this way. It shouldn't be this way. You don't have to hold on to the past. There's a little voice, there's a little feeling in the heart, there's a little unspoken something inside. And if you just listen to it, don't be afraid of it. Listen and know that it exists to tell you the truth, to help you move, to encourage you, to challenge the lie, to get to the freedom.
Wow. And so during this time of quarantine and uncertainty in the world, how have you taken care of your inner wellness?
Yeah. So one of the reasons I am a perfect choice to conceive and run the Inner Fitness Project is because I have taken prioritizing myself seriously for decades. I I sit here a practiced woman.
Mm.
That's the only difference between me and people who aren't yet having the ability, in ownership of the ability to change and transform their lives. I have been practicing on applying these concepts to my life for decades. It has become my lifestyle. So, in the same way that someone gets up and, make sure that they exercise 3 times a week or 4 times a week, the same way someone makes sure that they do training because
Mm-hmm.
they know that it's good for bone density, I do inner fitness work. I tell myself the truth. I remind myself that I am innately creative, resilient, empowered to choose, whole, and worthy. I journal so that I always know where I am. I acknowledge my feelings. And then once I acknowledge my feelings, I acknowledge what I want and what's possible for my life. And with that information, I make new choices. And I'm doing that over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Until now it becomes your normal because
It
you're
is my
practicing. It
normal.
is your normal.
And it is my lifestyle. It when a fear loop happens inside of me, I no longer am in this overwhelm that says, oh my God, it's going to be this way forever. This is horrible. I don't know how to get out of this. This feels so bad. I'm like, okay, the brain is doing what it does. I have so much more understanding of what is going on, and I have tools to actually consciously go at that thing and interrupt it,
Mm.
redirect my energy, redirect my thinking, deconstruct the lie, see it for the lie that it is.
Wow.
But
That's
that,
powerful.
yeah, it really is. But it wasn't handed to me, and I'm not special. So that means we all, just like with physical fitness, if you begin to invite transformational concepts into your life and work with them, you will build the resilience and strength that your life requires for you to live your passion and thrive. Period.
Powerful. Period. I love it.
Period.
So, getting ready to wrap up this season, which is season 6 of Queen Sugar.
Yep.
So, tell us about this season, because this season was filled with consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. That is one of the gifts that comes with the project of Queen Sugar. Ava DuVernay is very conscious. She's politically astute and has a very, very clear notion of of history and equal justice and reform, and she's using her artistry to speak to those things in ways that are right for these times. And so it's exciting to be a part of a project that has so much entertainment and yet education and social value. Um, but here's the thing, Carla, I am so excited because, season 5 was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Ava did a pivot, when COVID shut us down in March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it Ava decided that she was going to scrap all of the episodes. All of the episodes had already been
Wow.
written,
Okay.
and she threw them all out. And her writing team, she and the writing team, Anthony Sparks, together, they built a whole new season that was tracking the events that were taking place in all of our lives. And so season 5 really was, it was so powerful. I think that the George Floyd episode, which was our, 6th episode, it's some of the best television that I've ever seen.
Mm.
Some of the most impactful television that I've ever seen. Well, here I am with all this enthusiasm for season 5, but we're actually working, on season 6. We wrap this week on season 6,
Hmm.
and season 6 is as good as season 5.
Wow.
And this is 6 years into a series where it's so easy for the writing to get lazy, or for the storylines to start to be sensational, but not here at Queen Sugar. And so the fans are they have a lot to look forward to in season 6. um it's exciting.
Hmm. And so for you and where you are as an actress and as a person living in the history, how do those two come together when you talk about the artistry and the writing of Ava DuVernay and the team that puts Queen Sugar together? You know what I'm saying? Now you're not only living it like we all are, but you're also, portraying a role in a part of a family that is really so conscious about the awareness. What does that feel like to
Oh
be
my gosh.
sort of in
Oh
the
yeah.
middle of it,
Yeah.
acting it out?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is the intersection of my inner fitness work and living in the world, as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
In my journal, and I always emphasize the power of journal work. In my journal, you will see throughout my years of journaling, I've always been very clear about what I wanted, the kind of career I wanted. But I can point to a page in my journal that I wrote in 2015, and it said that I wanted to be a part of a critically acclaimed television drama,
Wow.
uh, as a member of an ensemble cast where everyone shined, and yet my character still was able to rise to the top and add undeniable value.
Mm.
That is written in my journal.
Wow.
November 2015. February 2016, I landed in New Orleans to play the role of Aunt Vi in Queen Sugar.
When you
So
when you write that vision, Scripture says, write the vision and make it plain. When the vision speaks, when you get the manifestation of that, what's that like?
it feels like I'm living my life on purpose. It feels like there's a force greater than me that loves me and responds to my heart. It
Mm.
feels like I am walking a path and being accountable to the ideas that have been given me to express. It feels hopeful,
Mm.
and it feels um, like I must be responsible and accountable to all of that unspoken potential that lives inside of me. And again, that's why I'm so passionate about the Inner Fitness Project, because I'm not special. We all are sitting on this potential, this possibility, this purpose that is ours. And we must make sure that we are giving ourselves the kind of time and attention and healing and direction, that we can have our internal power intersect with the world in a way where we are living on purpose.
That just tells me, Tina, I've got more work to do. We all
We all
do.
do.
We all do. But first, before we've got to let you go, tell people how they can connect with the Inner Fitness Project, and most importantly, how they can get the Little Book of Big Lies.
Well, thank you. I have to tell you that it's very exciting that the book is doing as well as it's doing. Forbes put it on its list at the beginning of this year, February 2021. It
Amazing.
was named one of 21 of the best books for 2021 if you want to make your year the best year ever. So we're very proud of that. You can go to our website at theinnerfitnessproject.com. Theinnerfitnessproject.com. You can also get there by using my name, TinaLifford.com. And you can explore what we're up to. Our main offering, meaning what we do, what we are bringing to the world that no one else is doing right this moment. We, 1 hour at a time, meet you right where you are and help you condition yourself and apply and practice concepts that transform your life. And we do it in a way that is actually fun. Transformation doesn't have to be about pain. You can actually transform your life by just being more present to all of the greatness that is inside of you. And that's our work. That's what we're committed to. The Little Book of Big Lies can be purchased anywhere. Every single major bookseller carries it, and maybe even your local bookstore carries it. It's out
Absolutely.
there. It's been selling. Read it and then go to Amazon and review it, please.
There you go. Tina Lifford, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for such insightfulness.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, Carlin. This has been fun, and we'll do it again.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Hey, everybody, stay on point. We're back right after this.